What's the worst thing you have ever seen on the internet? I seen a couple kids beat a homeless guy to death with a hammer. That was the last of my watching death videos. About a year ago. Was deep in the dark web. Saw the mutilated naked dead body of maybe 8-10-year-old girl. Have never been more disgusted in my life. Closed it immediately, shut off my computer and just left my house for a bit. I couldn't deal with that shit. Video of a guy, house thief, who got attacked by a big cat who went to a surgery room. His intestines fell out and the doctors were trying to put it back in. He was groaning in pain the entire time. Video of some African man accused of stealing from others. The village he lived in formed a mob and publicly executed him by putting a tire around his neck and setting it on fire. A gay orgy of multitude of fictional male characters eating each other's sheet, not asses. The actual ducking sheet, while a few of them are shoving cacti in each other's eyes. And pouring battery acid in each other's noses. It has never left my mind. And thank God I haven't seen it since. This was about 6-7 years ago. Someone posted a picture on a Facebook thread of a black guy with a big dig the size of my arm. Ducking the dead body of a girl that has their internal organs removed. So you could see the big dig through the hole in the ribcage. Some highlights from our watch PRPD. ISIS human slaughterhouse, exactly what it sounds like. A naked guy gets his leg cut off and is then beaten to death with it. Couldn't finish watching. Funky Town. A dude with his face cut off gets tortured to a background radio soundtrack of Guns N' Roses and Funky Town. A girl getting chopped up in a pit. Terrible cartel vids and more. It's probably for the best that they banned the sub. I regret watching a lot of that stuff. And the strangest thing was, all these videos were not hidden away on the dark web somewhere. They were right here on Reddit. The most traumatic and violent stuff you could imagine. Body of a boy eaten alive by piranhas. Everything below the water was just bones. Everything above the water looked completely normal. I can't forget the leg swinging as he was wrapped up in a tarp. A cannibalistic cooking guide explaining in detail how to successfully kidnap, cook and eat a woman. The guide would explain what the best body types are and what seasoning or cooking time you need to use for every different type to achieve the desired effect. It suggested that you should seduce the woman, duck her and then eat her body. Maybe not the worst but definitely one of the most disturbing ones. Someone's head getting blown off by a double-barrel shotgun. Point blank range. A woman sucking someone's big dick but it's full of big dick cheese. Just kilometers worth of big dick cheese underneath the foreskin. I gagged and nearly threw up when I watched it. There was Harry Potter fanfic with Ron and House Elf that made me want to bleach my eye gonads. House elves had long noses and he was doing some questionable things with it. I was on in our internet Reddit and there was a guy who I would assume made a girl drink his cum from a bucket he had stored up his children and poured into a soda can. But it was only a picture. It had even caramelized from the glucose or whatever. It was ducking disgusting and I made this account just to never see such atrocities again. The shit I saw on my old Reddit, Jesus Christ. A video of man committing suicide by jumping off a parking lot. Except he lands on a parking lot safety pole barrier, those metal posts stopping cars from crashing into buildings. Impaling him nally. The last season of Game of Thrones. Saw some video of some girls shoving a dildo into a guy's urethra and it tore his big dig in half. Had some friends over in early high school and they decided to play those ducked up videos. 2 girls 1 cup. 1 ha 1 jar. BME. ETC. I shielded my eyes and only saw glimpses of all of it. But this one glimpse haunted me the most. A 12-year-old girl hanging herself on a tree. Mexican cartel video. They had skinned some guy's face and cut off his ears, nose, hands and feet. Poor bastard was still alive. Trying to grope at his face with his stumps as they tried to decapitate him with a blunt blade. That sheet still haunts me. Watched a dude cut his own big dig off. Some gore pictures. You'd think playing a brutal video game or watching a slasher movie prepares you for this sight. It doesn't. Not at all. I once saw a guy suffocating kittens in one of those vacuum sealer bags. I don't really remember how I found it or where, but I took a long break from the internet after that. Video of a Russian soldier getting his head cut off by the Afghans who captured him. They used a big knife and just saw it off. He was awake for it and everything. You can hear him trying to scream and then just a wheeze of him trying to breathe. It was pretty messed up. I watched it a few times trying to see if it was real or not, but I'm pretty sure it was. This was back in the late 90s, so people didn't have access to the best special effects software at the time. I was in the Navy at the time. Years later, when we went to war with Afghan 49/11, I remembered that video and my heart sank every time I heard of a special ops guy getting caught by the Taliban. Child pornography. For some clarity, I wasn't intentionally looking for it. I was going down a giant rabbit hole at 2 in the morning while really stoned and came across the site. I reported it to the FBI and just went to bed. A pan full of jizz being fried up into an omelette and then eaten by someone who clearly starts re-evaluating their life partway through. Reading about this stuff makes me think Earth desperately needs to get hit by one of those massive runaway meteors. Charlie Hebdo attack uncensored. I learned a lesson about looking for that Live Leak logo in the corner. Someone sent me a video of an angry mob in India stone a woman. When she started to scream and revolt back, someone doused her in gas and lit her on fire. They continued to throw rocks at her and you can hear her now screaming in severe pain. The video and the mob continue. You can see the moment her life left her body. That legit scarred me for life. This was all because of a religious thing. The description was something to the effect she converted to Christianity or something like that. I hope all those people burn in hell and suffer just like what they did to that woman. I live in Brazil. This week a massive clash between prisoners from two rival criminal factions happened in a jail of a very poor region of the country. 40 people were killed and 12 were decapitated. Yesterday I received a video filmed by a member of the winning side of them literally playing football, soccer, using human heads as gonads. Some Brazilian gang chopping someone's head off with a rusty machete. Nothing too bad. Oh. How many people remember Rotten Cop? That sheet was famous back in the day. But that was when Newgrounds was the sheet and RuneScape was still the biggest MMO out there. More so a decade before Vanilla WoW was even released. People wishing death upon other people. Deep web meme pages. Not the worst, but definitely the weirdest. Holy duck. Only reading the descriptions here make me sick already. I never understood how some people like to watch this type of thing. 2 men being decapitated. I had nightmares after. I've seen way too much in my lifetime. I'm sure someone will mention Funky Town. But here's one that always comes to mind. It probably isn't the worst, but it's pretty damn dark and the video might be on YouTube for those who are curious. So, here's the situation. It's a couple of friends having a good time somewhere and are filming themselves diving off this bridge into the lake or body of water directly below them. One by one they start to go, excluding the person filming. It's pretty fun and all is going well until this guy goes next. He doesn't time his jump correctly and instead of going into the water, he slams into the concrete base of the bridge face first. Nobody notices that anything went wrong until they see him floating face down in the water with blood pooling everywhere. That's when the screaming starts. It then cuts to the emergency room where he's unresponsive on a stretcher and the ER physician is trying to keep the guy's head closed because it's split down the middle. I don't mean that he has a deep gash or anything either. No. I mean his head was split open like a melon all the way down his face a la Dead Alive. The thing that disturbed me the most wasn't exactly the injury itself, but the face he had presumably bled out so much that it looked like the inside of his head was completely hollow and it didn't even seem real. I don't remember what happened after that, but I think he died days later from his injuries and it wasn't quick like you'd think. Poor guy. Robin Williams post suicide pic. I was told not to look and I did anyway. I highly recommend not looking. I wish I didn't. I've seen some ducked up shit on the internet. A lot of it much more gory than that. But there is something about it that is just haunting and terrible. Seriously. Don't look. Little kid toddler threw up and the babysitter shoved her on the ground and started doing stomping on her. I think the kid was okay. The dad apparently found out after watching home security footage, presumably after seeing his kid injured. The Tick Up Girl video where they ate shit or something. Watched it long time ago but it still disgusts me to another level. Gave me depression for a few days because I don't know why I kept watching even though I felt like vomiting. Budweiser suicide. Had to stay off Reddit for a while. On Facebook and a bunch of pictures popped up on my newsfeed about a massive plane crash in South America and they had close-ups of the mangled bodies. First one I saw was a guy with his eye hanging from what was left of his skull. Instantly moved to report it and block any future pics from that page. An ISIS video showing actual decapitation of real people in HD. On Reddit I watched a video of 2 male crackheads smoking crack. Then one ate the others as in public. That shook me to my core so naturally I shared it with my friends. That video of the one guy popping a cyst or something in his mouth and the contents are ducking chunky. Most things on our NSFW WTF. The worst is the just second to top on hot. Ugh, I gag whenever I think about it. I've seen some pretty gnarly shit. Beheadings. Torture. General violence. Suicides. But the 2 things that have always stuck with me are as follows. 1. When I accidentally opened a photo of a girl holding a decapitated head of a German Shepherd. I actively avoid animal abuse and I don't remember the context of that click but I can still see it clearly in my head. 2. A guy slowly and deliberately destroying his own eyeball. I've got a pretty strong stomach for a lot of awful shit but this is one of the only videos I've seen that I had to turn off. Literally made me gag. And it goes on for like 15 minutes or something absurd. I don't remember how far into it I got but I definitely noped out within 1 minute of him really just jetting in there.